Hello all, welcome to the course of heat transfer. Today we are going to see detailed discussion about conduction. So in some of the videos that we have uploaded on LMS, we have seen that what is conduction, what is convection, what is radiation. So basically the definitions of all these modes of heat transfer is known. So let us go ahead with the detailed description of heat conduction. So during this course, if you have any queries, if you want to have any discussion on particular topic, if you want any kind of notes, I am ready to assist you. You can drop me an email on bhagavatabhishekmek@sanjeevani.org.in, and my contact number is 9325628345. So I expect you to contact me in working hours from 10 to 5. It will be good. If you exceed that, if you want to have any questions after that, you can always drop me an email. So let's start with the discussion of conduction. So before starting conduction, we should understand one thing clearly, that whatever the process that are occurring in the nature are always in multidimensional in nature. So as far as the science goes, three-dimensional concepts almost describes all the physical processes in nature, whether it is conduction, whether it is convection or radiation. All these processes can vary from one-dimensional to three-dimensional. So now the question is, why do I go ahead with the one-dimensional heat conduction? Why do I have to go with the two-dimensional heat conduction? Why do I have to go with three-dimensional heat conduction? So as far as the brief discussion of conduction is concerned, what we have seen in the previous lectures is that, let us say if the temperature T is equal to T is dependent on what? X, Y, Z coordinate and the time. Okay. So if you have any particular material which is heated up to a certain temperature, so the temperature in that material is going to vary with its XYZ location plus the time. Okay, it may go on cooling or it may go on heating. With respect to time, the temperature can go up or down depending on the temperature conditions that you are going to provide to that material. So the temperature is always dependent upon X coordinate, Y coordinate, Z coordinate and time. So these are the four variables that are dependent, though on which the temperature is dependent upon. So what is steady state of heat conduction and what is transient state of heat conduction? In thermodynamics, we have seen steady flow energy equations. In steady flow, all the processes are independent of time. This means that temperature will be dependent on only X, Y and Z coordinates, not on the time, small t. Okay, so let us go through the coordinate system. So typically we have three different coordinate system. One is rectangular coordinates, another is cylindrical coordinates, then the third one is the spherical coordinates. So heat conduction can occur in spherical ball, in cylinder or in any material depending on which coordinate system we are using. How do I correlate rectangular coordinate system with respect to spherical coordinate system? That is an altogether different topic and which will be dealt in advanced mathematics. So as far as the course is concerned, as far as the content of this course is concerned, we restrict ourselves to only this coordinate system. First, rectangular coordinate system, wherein you have this three-dimensional planes X, Y, Z axis, and if you are going to describe any temperature condition or any heat conduction through this rectangular coordinates, it will be X, Y, Z. In case of cylinder, it is just resembles the cylindrical rod. So you have coordinates as radial advancement of the coordinates. Radial is r, okay. Then along z axis and along angular direction. So temperature is like, if I want to describe any point in this cylindrical coordinate system, it will be r, phi and z. R, phi and z. Please note that z is exactly along the z axis of the rectangular coordinate system. So r is the x coordinate in rectangular coordinate system is replaced by the radial system. The y coordinate is replaced by phi. Okay, radial means from the axis of rotation in outward direction. From the axis of rotation to the outward direction is radial direction. Phi is along the circumference of the cylinder and z is along the axis of the cylinder. Please make this difference very clear in your mind so that you will not get confused. Now if I convert that cylindrical coordinates in spherical coordinates, what will be the difference? X is replaced by same as radial coordinate, y is replaced by phi and z is replaced by theta, because in spherical coordinate there is no axis. From whichever direction you take a long line which is passing through the center of that sphere, it will always be axis of rotation. So the point P is described as r, phi and theta. R, phi and theta. R is from the point of rotation or central point to the outward side or the towards the circumference of the spherical coordinate system. Phi is like curve along the xy plane and theta is from z coordinate. So r, phi and theta, these are the three coordinate system. So we are going to see heat conduction in all of these three different coordinate system. So as we discussed briefly about steady state and transient state. Now what is transient state? Let us say this is a metallic bar on which one side is of 15 degrees Celsius and another side is of 7 degrees Celsius. We note down the time as 2 p.m. After some time I come back and I again check the temperature of this metallic bar. I find that the temperature is 12 degrees Celsius on the left side and 5 degrees Celsius on the right side, and the time noted is 5 p.m. So through this time the temperature of this metallic bar has constantly changed. So at time 2 p.m. I have a rate of heat transfer Q1 dot. At time 5 p.m. I have a rate of heat transfer which is equal to Q2. So these two rates are not equal. Q2 not equal to Q1. So this heat transfer process is dependent on time. This is called as transient state of heat transfer, or just a simple case as transient state. Now what is steady state? If I keep that metallic bar at a temperature of 15 degrees Celsius on left side, 7 degrees Celsius on the right side, and I note down the time as 2 p.m. I come back after 3 hours, the time is 5 p.m. and again I check the temperature. Temperature is found to be 15 degrees Celsius on the left side and 7 degrees Celsius on the right side. So temperatures have not changed in this metallic bar. So the time is not a constraint. Even after 3 hours the rate of heat transfer is same because the temperatures are same. So the Q1 dot is equal to Q2 dot. This is called as steady state. It is not dependent on time. So briefly we have seen the steady state of heat transfer, transient state of heat transfer or heat conduction, and what are the coordinate system. Now let's start with the heat conduction. The law which dictates the heat transfer process in metals or in any kind of substance is called as Fourier law of heat conduction. Fourier law of heat conduction. So now what does that law states? Qn dot. N represents the direction. In case of rectangular coordinate, it will be xyz. In case of cylindrical coordinate, it will be r, phi and z. In case of spherical coordinate, it will be r, phi and theta. So heat, the rate of heat transfer, the dot represents the rate. Whenever the concept of rate comes in picture, this means that it is dependent on time. It is like mass flow rate, how much kg of fluid has flown per second. Or if it is Qn, which is heat transfer rate, the rate of heat transfer is equal to minus k into the cross sectional area, which is normal to the flow of heat, into del T by del N. Del T is the temperature difference and del N is the distance in that particular direction. Now let us understand what this process is. Now let us say this equation Q dot N is equal to minus K A into del T by del N. What does this represent? Now in this previous slide, so what will be the del T in case of this? Let us assume this as a steady state. What will be the del T in that case? It is 15 minus 7. Del T is equal to T2 minus T1. What is T2? Is 7 degrees Celsius. T1 is 15 degrees Celsius. So if I subtract 15 degrees Celsius from 7 degrees Celsius, it will give me minus 8 degrees Celsius. Okay, T2 minus T1. And in case of this, if it is a rectangular coordinate system, and if I assume the heat transfer is taking place in x direction, it will be x2 minus x1. x2 minus x1. So if I assume the location of this 15 degrees Celsius as 0 and 7 degrees Celsius as, let us say, 5 centimeters, then x2 is 5 centimeters minus x1 is 0. Okay, so the ratio will give me 8 degrees Celsius divided by 5 centimeters. So it gives me negative value. So that's why this negative sign is given. Negative sign is given because this rate of heat transfer is always positive. So to make this negative as positive, this negative sign is given. Another reason this negative sign is that heat is always flowing from higher temperature to the lower temperature, and this derivative takes the temperature of lower temperature minus higher temperature. So that's why to make it a positive quantity, I always make it multiplied by minus sign. Now what is this K? K is called as thermal conductivity. It is a property of the metal by which it is able to conduct the heat. Thermal conductivity. So it is the ability of that metal. If higher is the conductivity, this means that that substance or any metal or liquid, whatever it is able to conduct heat through effectively through its own body. Okay, area, it is normal to the heat transfer. Now this is the net heat flow, net rate of heat flow. How can I divide this in these three different coordinate system? If it is rectangular, then Qx, the rate of heat transfer in x direction, is equal to minus k into Ax. That means the cross sectional area which is perpendicular to the direction of heat flow into del T by del x. Similarly, Q dot y is equal to minus k Ay into del T by del y, and Q dot z is equal to minus k Az into del T by del z. Okay, so the net rate is equal to the addition of all these three. I is the vector. Why is it multiplied by a vector? because heat flow always denotes the direction. It is like a vector. It needs direction. If I just tell you that the heat transfer is 25 watt per meter square, so you will ask me, okay, heat transfer is 25 watts per meter square, but in which direction? Is it in x direction? Is it in y direction? Is it in z direction? So that specifying the direction becomes very important, because it is called as heat flux vector. Whenever I am dividing this q dot n by a, it is called as heat flux. Heat flux. So Fourier's law of heat conduction tells me that the rate of heat conduction is directly proportional to the product of area through which it is flowing, which is area is always normal to the heat flow, product of area and temperature difference, and divided by the thickness or the distance. Okay, the rate of heat conduction is directly proportional to the product of area and temperature difference and inversely proportional to thickness. Now this is the thermal conductivity of different substances. If I want to rate different substances on the scale of conductivity, the lowest is 0.01 on y axis and highest is 1000. So more and more, if a substance is going closer to 1000, this means that the rate of heat conduction is high. Now naturally, the conductivity of air, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, helium, it is on the lower side, because these are all gases. If you look at it, these are all gases. So the conductivity is very low. That's why the convection comes into picture. You're getting my point? That's why the conduction takes the back seat and convection comes into picture when I am dealing with the gases. Then comes these insulators, fibers, wood and foams. They do have conductivity which is higher than these gases. Then comes the liquid. Then comes the liquids. Mercury, this is a liquid metal. Mercury, water, oils. Then comes non-metallic solids, oxides, rock, food, rubber. These are all having higher conductivity than liquids. Then comes the metal. Metals are having surpasses the thermal conductivities of all these gases, insulators, liquids and non-metallic solids. Then comes pure metals, which means silver, copper, iron, manganese, etc. Metal alloys is like aluminum alloys, bronze alloys, steel alloys, etc. Then comes non-metallic crystals. So the diamond, graphite, silicon, carbide, beryllium oxide, quartz, these are all having the highest conductivities. Okay, this is the thermal conductivity. So whatever we have learned till this slide, we will continue in the next video lecture. Thank you for being with me. Thanks a lot.